And we're live. Welcome back to getting some shit done.
Yeah.
How has everyone's week been so far? We already talked about Bitcoin and the crypto crash. Other than that, let's talk about some more productive things and your projects. How's everyone feeling?
It goes by so quick. Like I feel like we were just meeting, and then it's like
It's true.
I cannot get shit done.
Yeah, I feel the same. Especially my week was a little bit busy from work, but yeah, I got some things done at least. Said I want to take it slow, so it's okay, I guess.
So yeah, same here. Busy at work, but I think something that is working out for me is just kind of at least one day a week. Typically for me on Sundays is just push through and just allocate 2 hours, and you can make a lot of stuff in 2 hours. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's
if you are
true.
focused, if you know what to do, you can get it done. So yeah, maybe I'll show a demo and some progress that I'm happy with.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic too, right? Like if you're effective in removing distractions, I think, which is difficult, right? And in today's distraction-loaded world, especially if you have a family and kids and all of that on top of it, not just all of your devices. So I feel you there.
Yeah, but like we work all weekend on the bus, right? So it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like that's what I'm thinking about. And then up until Tuesday, I'm thinking about the video for the bus. And so then it's like I only have like these couple of days that I can, if I don't focus during that time, then it's just not going to happen.
Is your bus channel public on YouTube?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you send it over, I'll show it to the kids. I'll watch an episode with them. Yeah.
Cool.
You're in luck. We just had she just actually published like an hour ago the 5 months recap.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So you kind of get the full story in 17 minutes, and then if you want to dive into details, you can watch all of the videos, which I'm fully expecting you to do.
I will.
No, but it's pretty amazing. I saw some episodes. I like how it keeps evolving, and I can't wait of footage when you're really then living there, driving around in your living room basically, or your house, which is amazing. Yeah, pretty cool.
But to the time slicing, how you just described your week, I mean, maybe you should try or experiment with time slicing your day, so that you stretch out the things. Like all three things, well, not on the weekend with the bus, that doesn't really work. But like say you have 2 or 3 things of importance right now, right? So which could even be 2 or 3 things for Giglets Garments, but let's just say it's Giglets Garments and it's video production. And then just set yourself a timeline, like this is what I do in the morning, and after lunch, I'm not gonna do any of this anymore. Yeah. And do that 5 days a week, I don't know, just a suggestion to try.
No, that makes sense.
Like, so I'm doing the same thing now that I'm contracting again. I actually need to shut down my other computer. My personal computer cannot be next to it. Like otherwise, I'm just going back and forth on it, and then you lose, like you go insane, right? Like you need to focus on one thing at a time.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. I have the same feeling sometimes, like even when I'm working and there's like some, I don't know, something that's distracting me, might be a TV or my other computer, then I'm just there and I don't get the shit done that I'm supposed to get done, which is not good.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting topic, actually, if you want to spend another minute on this, where remote work certainly makes that harder, right? Where I remember, this is not so clear anymore for me either, but I remember when I first started working remotely for Siemens for corporate America, right? I built the office, kind of with that in mind, right? I had an office. I didn't just work on the coffee table, so I got up in the morning, I had breakfast, I went into the office, I closed the door, I worked. right? And then, of course, sure, you get distractions and you do something else every now and then. But if I didn't have that, it would be even harder for me, I think.
Yeah, it's true. I'm not sure. I have times where I feel like I'm more productive at home because I can just focus and there's no colleague or anybody like talking to me about something unrelated or whatever. But yeah, you for example, you miss also the coffee break meetings where you just talk with your colleagues because you cannot do that either, and then you have other distractions as well. So maybe it comes out about even, I'd say, to office workday. But let's be honest. I mean, as a programmer, at least, I don't think that any programmer can focus 8 hours a day on what he's doing. And second of all, you also don't need to, in my opinion. I think 5 hours is enough of like focus time programming. No, really. And then you get the same shit done as you would do in 8 hours, because you just lose your productivity at some point, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I'm sure people are different, right? I agree with you. I can't. It depends, actually. It really depends. It depends on the motivation. It depends on like the newness of the project, even, like sometimes if you're super into it in the beginning, you're just losing yourself, and all of a sudden the day is like over 12 hours later. Now, did you code straight 12 hours? No, of course not, right? But
then even if you did, like, you produce so many bugs that you don't know of, and then you spend like 3 or 4 days fixing them, and maybe you could have avoided at least 50% of these bugs if you would have worked less. But I have nothing to prove that, so I don't know. It's just an assumption from me. I don't know.
Thinking is important.
Yeah.
Think before you do it, right?
It's true.
Yeah, good point.
Or
Cool.
think before you talk also, right? Sometimes you get in trouble if you just talk without thinking.
Yeah, it could get you in trouble. Cool. So do you want to just go around the table, give like updates? Arki said he has something to show. Maybe we'll start there.
All right.
Kick it off with a bang.
Share a screen. All right, good. So this is what I was working with. So I integrated my little screens now. So the moment of course, before this, it would be perhaps a landing page, but this is the moment that someone would want to sign in. So here I have already an email that works. So that's already recorded and on the database. So if the password is correct, it sends you to a table. And again, I haven't worked on this table making it pretty. Also, the number of columns is going to have and all the way the information will be presented. But the idea is that this is just the top 5, and there will be also a filter that either by stars, by rating, or just the latest. This is the default view, the latest recipes. And here, this will be clickable to get the details of them. Now, I think the other feature that it's already done is this one that you've seen. So I'll just see co-starting, right? That's a recipe that does not exist. And here you just add some ingredients, A/B. Once you're done, you share it, and then co-starting goes to the top, right? Because it was the last one that was added. So all this authenticate, and that's it, right? And nothing fancy, but at least now I'm getting in the mood of integrating with Firebase, and my screens are there. So now it's really more about polishing and really thinking what would be the MVP. And I realize now, based on the discussion that we had last week, is that I'm really far away from having an MVP definition. I think I know what I want. I think I know what the basic features should be, but there is still a lot of unknowns. It's like, what is the best way to display the table? Do users even care about the description, or do they just care about the rub name and maybe the top 3 ingredients? I really, all these are questions for me. And I know we've talked about this, so validating this with real users would be, I think, the most important thing. But I think at least what I thought is I'll design it for me, right? As a way for me to have a tool to keep track of my own rubs. Once I have something that I'm happy with, then I'll start showing this to people and see what the feedback is. But I think that would be really a way to keep it measurable, and not to have like an unbounded set of features that I want to implement. It's just what would make me happy on a day-to-day, right? That I could use every week and really use it for real. It's like whenever I come up with a new RUB, put it in and see if I can just click on my favorites and so on. So I think once I'm there, then I'll launch, and then I'll have the interviews with people. So this is where I'm at.
I would suggest, if you have another hour this week, watch the virtual coffee hour from this week, the recording, where we talked a lot about like the user, the importance of the user in the design and decision making, right? And like actually spend quite a few minutes on that very topic you just touched on, right? Like how do you validate that? It's not gonna give you just straight up answers what you should do. I don't think we got really that deep, but we talked a lot about that because that is part of the problem. As a matter of fact, Patrick was there too. You remember Patrick from Siemens as well. And so maybe that will give you another kind of, way of thinking about it, just inspiration. And that was a good conversation.
Okay, I'll check it out. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, work in progress, and then I'm, as I said, Sundays are my day when I really do the heavy lifting, and things are happening. I mean, slower than I would have liked, but still, it's progress. So I'm happy with it.
Another thing which you can start thinking about on the sideline while you're tinkering on it is like, how do you implement it right now? Just JavaScript, or do you use a framework?
So I'm using Node.js, and with all this Firebase SDK that they provide. But yeah, it's purely JavaScript.
Node.js for
my
what?
server, for the server.
But why do you need a server when you have Firebase integration?
That's a good question. Yeah. Just to serve the pages, right? To host them.
Okay.
If this is published, let's say on DriveRubMe, I need to serve those pages, right? To have that service, that web server.
Yeah, maybe it's easier. I mean, you can just make an HTML file or whatever with JavaScript.
That's what they are. That's what they are. But for example, the paths, right, and specific requests. For example, when someone clicks the button "New RUB," that goes into a very specific path, and that's served and does all the redirection and so on.
Okay. Yeah. You can do that in Node.js. I mean, if that's what you're most familiar with. I mean, there are like several front end frameworks that do already that. I mean, I use Angular for my project, but that's definitely not recommended if you have no experience in Angular. Then you will probably spend like half a year just learning it.
Learning,
Yeah.
right? So I think the Node.js is so simple that I could wrap my head around it. But I mean, it's just if it would be just a matter of putting whatever an Apache server. And just putting these static pages there. I mean, that could be done, but at least here is something that I thought it was the easiest way, the fastest way for me, and it's work in progress. Yeah.
Well, if it's just static pages, then I would even go simpler. Just run a Docker with Nginx, and you're done.
Okay.
Right, something like that. But for Angular or not, I actually don't necessarily agree. I think, yes, you can spend definitely half a year, you can spend multiple years learning it. But if you want to get into Angular, whatever it is, Angular or Vue or whatever framework it is, just find yourself a starter project, right? Like even, Timo, what you're using, or what you started with, right? Like some like dashboard project.
Yeah, but that already requires experience with Angular. You won't understand any of the structure if you've never seen Angular before. You cannot develop any features in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that might be true. But yeah, I mean, if you already started that way, I think there's no problem with that, right?
Yeah, it's good. For sure.
Get that down. But that was what I was getting at. As you are going to get more fancy with the UI, look for templates or something. Like even if it's just from the UI perspective, plain vanilla JavaScript and HTML, find a template, which I think even the one you use, Timo, I think has a plain HTML JavaScript version as well.
I think so too, but I think that's also too much overhead, probably.
Well, I was getting it from a design perspective, right? Because then you don't have to worry about like making every single element, just kind of take something which is there. Alternatively, what you could look at is what I've seen a lot of people use recently, and I personally like it as well, is Tailwind UI, which same thing. It has just all the UI elements already like in HTML and JavaScript. It comes in for all of the frameworks, I think, as well, but that would give you a super quick head start, because I think it's silly to just sit there and style one button, right? Like,
I agree. Yeah. I'm looking for the easiest way out, right? It's just something that looks good, that works, and that gets the job done. So yeah. I'll look into it.
Yeah, then you should definitely have a look into like any template basically that just has all of the, let's say, features or like the pages you want.
Right.
And then from there you can just like leave the rest out and then just get going. And then you can just integrate Firebase with it, and you can even host it on Firebase as well. So you don't need a server.
That's true. You can.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
It is actually pretty neat. It's like literally, what is it? Firebase deploy.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
something like that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's really.
It's all out of your console. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll look it up. Okay, great.
Yeah, and if the frameworks, or templates, as you find some, send them our way, right? Like ask the community if they, who used it, or if that looks good. Because I think the biggest thing you should be looking for if you start with something new is something extremely popular. If there is a fan base around it, you will find probably all of the questions, all of the issues you're going to run into already answered, versus if it's just a random template from some guy who uploaded it to Evato Market or something. Unless it has like a lot of downloads, I would be careful with that, because you run into issues which just, that's how they decided to do it. You don't understand it, and then you're just sitting there trying to solve that. That's the flip side of templates, right? I think.
Yeah.
That's why like Tailwind or something like that is super popular. I'm sure you can probably even find a template or a starter project based on Tailwind, or just like, think of it like Bootstrap, right? You're familiar with Bootstrap. You could find a template which is based on HTML and Bootstrap, right?
Yeah.
You can probably find a template which is just based on Tailwind. But again, going into much detail.
Yeah. No, good. Yeah, I'll look all this stuff. Thanks.
Cool. Anyone want to go next, or are we just gonna have a moment of awkward silence?
No, I can go next, because I think I'll be super quick, and then you remember the peak that was Arki's part and the end that will be Emmy's part. So
Nice.
Since my update is not that exciting, I can go now. Yeah, well, this week I was able to to ditch out a huge a huge pain basically in Plotmaniac, which was the autosave feature that was intended to be super useful for the users, and also a little bit for me to protect myself from huge costs when people keep saving everything, because that's one of the downsides of Firebase, which I'm using in the project as well, that you build like on, let's say, each write or read from the database. And yeah, if you save a lot, then of course you produce a lot of writes, and if many people do that, it's super expensive. But yeah, whatever. I think I'm not worrying about this part anymore, because I don't expect to have like that many users in the beginning, and so I think it's fine. And and it was not really helping this feature. I mean, when I was developing, I realized many times that that sometimes it saved something that it shouldn't have saved, and so it was very buggy, the feature. And also, it was not very clear when the autosave was triggered. It was active all the time, but then you had to make so many exceptions, like when you switch a page, for example, do you save then or not, maybe, or like when you reload the page, what happens then, because eventually the data will be lost, and so many things. So I just thought, yeah, I'll give that back to the user, and it's working way better now, because if the user doesn't save, then he gets a small message, but if he saves, then he saved. If not, then it's his fault, whatever. So I think that's the best approach, and it removes a lot of headache too. And and then I had a small bug also with in my scene section where the pictures did not show for some reason. When I don't know if you guys remember, cannot show you right now, but I have a small mood board basically where people can upload some pictures to get the mood of their scene, and that feature was not working properly, because in some circumstances I still don't fully understand when that happened, and the pictures didn't show when you reloaded the page, but they were still there, which essentially messed up their file contingent they had on the on my server, because every user gets 50 megabytes they can upload, and if they have pictures that are never shown, then they can also never remove them, and it will mess up the thingy then. So I fixed that a little bit, and then for this week I actually wanna I have these guides that tell users how to tell a story, and I want to break them down into, let's say, the very essentials kind of, and then put them on the page somewhere. And I still have like a huge document of like 20 or 21 pages, I think, and I will put that somewhere as well, so people can access it and they can read through it, but I won't dissect every single paragraph of that document and put it somewhere on the page, because that's what I was doing before, and it's really time consuming, and it's also really annoying. But so I won't do that. So I will try to figure out what is essential and put that on the side, and then the rest people can just access somewhere and read the full thing if they want. And my teammate who is developing with me, kind of, he is now back from vacation. We wanted to have a meeting today, but he couldn't because he was also too busy at work. So we will have it tomorrow at 9 a.m. in the morning, and then we'll discuss what's the next steps, because we really want to now push through and get this thing out of the door, and then everything will be great, I hope, because then there's not so much pressure from my side, and if there are users, even better, because then I can because then I'm sure I have the greatest motivation ever to continue with the project. So I think it's a good approach, and it's nice because he wrote me one day before he came back from his vacation, so hey, now get some rest. Tomorrow he's back, and then we push through it. So he was really motivating in that sense. That's amazing. And so I'm looking forward to get going with that. But that's it from me, basically.
Anything you need feedback on? Or anything?
No, not right now. Actually, no. It's just there are many things that I still have to sort out for myself. It's I'm not sure what feedback you guys could give me, but thanks for still listening to me.
So the motivation is kind of like maybe not where it was, but we're back on track at least to.
I mean, that's the thing, really. In the beginning, I was like working day and night on the project. That's why I had a huge progress within like very little time, because I I did nothing else basically, and I was putting way more than 8 hours in it to get back to the topic from the beginning of this call. But yeah, now I just cannot do it anymore. But yeah, that's why I think with maybe like, I don't know, 2 hours a day or 1 hour even, you get some stuff done as well. That's fine. So it's yeah, it's good. It gets better, definitely. It helps to slow down a little bit. I mean, if that would be my full-time job, maybe I would do it differently. Then of course I would work 8 hours maybe, but I cannot do 8 hours plus 8 hours at work, and then 8 hours of sleep, and then repeat.
Yeah. No, that's an important point too, right? And I think that's kind of, it is going back to the conversation from the beginning, because it depends on motivation, it depends on many things, but then it also is dangerous to get, I don't want to say too motivated, right? But like, you know, burn out all of the good motivation in the beginning, or burn through it so quickly that, and it's hard because you have to almost, if you just don't do it, right? Like that, it's not like that motivation will just magically shift towards the end then either, I think, but it's a good thing to think about in the beginning, and maybe even like artificially keep some of the low-hanging fruit, you know, like don't do like some of the easy things right away, because you need some success like moments later down the road, you know.
But that is usually my problem, you know, because I never do the easy things first. Or at least, let's say, I make the easy things hard ones because I focus so much on, let's say, details that are not important at all. And I just spend so much time on them because I think I want to have it right. I showed you, I don't know if you remember, Sven, but the stupid animation when you log in, right? And now I'm just thinking I'm not going to use it anymore because it's not, yeah, it doesn't even look that nice. So I'm like, and I spent ridiculously much time on that. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. You do have that tendency.
Yeah.
And maybe that's another thing which you need to work on, right? Like recognizing that. And because I think you even know it, you just choose to ignore it and you still do it, right?
Yeah, I know. I know that I have the problem, and in many, let's say, in a work-related environment where I have a deadline and I have to deliver something at some point, there I don't do it, of course. But if it's my own project, then I don't really have a deadline. I have a deadline that I set for myself, and I'm like, yeah, well, then I disappoint this guy, whatever, you know.
Yeah, so, then start there. Start just not doing that, right? Like just start actually looking at it as work, which is of course part of the conversations we had about the peer groups even, right? Like if you're a fit for a peer group or a cohort, if you look at this just like work, right? Like if you take that seriously. But I agree, that goes back to what you just said a couple moments ago, that once you have a customer, that is going to be that pressure point again, right? And then it is work. If it's going to make money from the beginning or not, doesn't matter. But if you don't take it seriously at that point, then you're not going to have a customer soon after.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. Anyone else want to say something to Timo?
Yeah, it sounds, Timo, that now it became kind of like a technical exercise instead of a kind of the original intent, a business exercise, right, for you?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the technical challenges, they're usually not the hard ones. I mean, I'm still struggling with the customer approach, for example, or like even getting customers. But yeah, right now, I mean, I don't even have a finished product yet, so there is no point on focusing on that. But maybe I will reevaluate later on the thingies when I have the product out, and then I can maybe focus on approaching some customers.
I'm wondering is like whether we're doing it wrong. I think it should be reversed, right?
It should be.
Maybe, but
From
I
a
mean,
business perspective, it should be.
But
Yeah,
even if
that's-
it's not, even if it's not a business, for example, my dry rub me, I don't see it really right now as a business, more like a tool that would be useful for people who love barbecue and dry rubs. But then,
Oh, what's the difference?
but if I build it for myself, right? I'm just making a tool for me. But if I want to appeal a broader audience, I want to integrate what they really want. And even if
Mm.
it's not for profit, even if it's just for the sake of a tool being useful, I think maybe we're taking it the wrong way. We're at the wrong end. We are starting implementing something that we think will solve a problem, but in reality, maybe it isn't. So yeah.
There's no difference, Arki, right? If your only difference is that you're either charging for it or you don't, business is business, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, a lot of them don't make any money. A lot of them are open source,
Mhm.
non-profit, but the approach should still be business centric, right? Like you still
Yeah.
apply the same principles. I think you're absolutely right. Unless, of course, it is really just for yourself because you like making things, right? That's fine.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the technical aspect is what's most fun about it, and the business aspect is just like I have to do it, kind of. So it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right. The business aspect should come first, but then I would lose my motivation even quicker. Right?
Exactly. Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, in part. But so the other solution for this is, of course, to find yourself someone for this project, for that team, like who wants to do that part of it, right? That's, I mean, we talk about that as co-founders. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to think about it that seriously necessarily either, but you have a teammate, now you're both technical still, so you don't complement each other. You're faster together, but you don't complement each other on that angle, right? So if you find someone who wants to complement you, likes the idea, gets along with you, and wants to solve the business challenges or the marketing challenges, now that's interesting. Super hard to do, of course.
Sure. Especially for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But so the only thing which will still hold through is that you still need to be able to sell it. And I mean this with an asterisk. Selling could just be pitching it to someone else, right? How do you convince someone to work with you on this project, even though there is no money in it yet? Right? Unless it's not for money, right? Like Arki actually had someone like this before, not for money, it's just open source project, but he just liked it. Although that was also just a technical kind of addition, I think, right?
Yeah.
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 I don't think is there an open source space for, let's say, marketing people? Probably not, right? No. They don't do it just because it looks nice on the resume or it's fun or
you mean like open source marketing?
He just froze, I think.
Yeah, I think we lost him. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think that exists either. No, there's maybe in design it's a little bit more like that still, but I mean that's interesting, right? Because that's a lot of the things I'm thinking about for co-starting, having that collaborative approach, that open approach across the domains, not just for the technical side of it, but
right. Yeah, I guess maybe campaigns like hashtag something would be a way of open source marketing. Maybe open source is not the right word. It's more like crowdsourced marketing, right? If you believe in a cause, you hashtag it, hashtag co-starting, and then all of a sudden you have a bunch of people echoing that.
Right. Yeah. Let's find your evangelists kind of thing.
Right.
But still, right, in order to get there, you still need to make them believe in the cause, right? Like, why would anyone do that? Because I think the difference between, coding or design or anything like that is that you have something in the end. You actually create something. As a marketer or a salesperson or, I don't know, a lawyer, like there is nothing coming out at the end. Like the process is actually your work. So I think that's the difference, right? So for us creators,
That's true. Yeah.
it's we might be doing it because we just like having that stuff in the end. For us, it's also the process, but that's the biggest difference I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right, I think. And by the way, I'm going to cancel my internet provider. It's horrible.
Yeah, you should get Starlink.
Yeah, I want to.
Emmy,
Hey,
what's up?
just hanging out.
Cool.
All right, let me look at the thing so I don't forget anything. Okay, so the only big thing is that I have a date for the first senior living community demo. So that's very exciting. I get to go talk to the old people. And that's on my birthday. And
Remind us real quick. When is that?
June 7th, so in like a week and a half.
I totally knew that. I just
Yeah,
wanted
I'm sure.
the YouTube community.
Yeah, so in like a week and a half. So I've been kind of, well, first of all, since she wrote back and gave me the dates and stuff, and it's very soon. Been thinking a lot about that and how to kind of approach them and everything that I'm going to need to bring and present, and I don't know, it's just like a whole nother world, trying to get through to a different generation. So we'll see, I guess. But that's exciting. I have that on my list for next week to work on. I'm going to get that all like nailed out and know what I'm doing next week before, so that I can have enough time to feel sane and not rushed in that. I think I've made progress towards being a better businesswoman, as that was on my list from last week, to be a better businesswoman. I've been listening to the book that I meant to be listening to, and Sven said that I'm doing good on things. So that's something. I've been working on the getting some stuff nailed down for the pilot line. Not entirely sure that's what I should be focusing on, but it helps with my motivation to like have something that I'm like, okay, yes, I feel like people will like this, and I don't know, it feels more real to have like line items that I know I can make a tutorial for this, I can have the seniors making this, et cetera, et cetera. And someone saying something? No.
I wanted to say something, but I also didn't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. What I was thinking, I mean, you're working with senior citizens, which is really cool. You're focusing on the knitting thing, right? Which is amazing. But most likely, this would be old women doing this, right?
Yeah.
There are also like a lot of old guys, and I was thinking about that like during the week actually. So it has nothing to do with the talk right now, but maybe the whole upcycling thing can be also done with many other things. You can, I don't know, use old metal and make a table out of it or whatever. Like maybe some people have like really
Just
cool
give them an old car
skills.
and then let them like.
For example, I don't
Okay.
know. I mean, it's just it's probably even more than what you're trying to approach right now. But I really think it's an amazing project. The more that I think about it, because you have so many how can I say
Yeah.
ways to make this
And they're very like
for everyone.
they're always looking for new programs and stuff at these senior living communities, right? And things that they can kind of create and do with their hands, and volunteer programs and things like that. I mean, it seems so far from the people that I've talked to, it seems that way. So it's really interesting. And the thing we talked about last week was the actual like creating the yarn, that could be a thing too for like the people who aren't the old women who sit there and knit, whatever. That they kind of have an assembly line going on where one person's task is this, to cut up the shirts into the little strips. The next person's task is to string them into the strings and then wrap them into the balls. And then, you finally have the people who sit there and knit the products. The activities director, somebody from the senior place told me that she thought she could see that could be a thing.
But I mean, I think at least like when working with old people, you should focus more about the, let's say, fun. I mean, they should like to do it. With an assembly line, it sounds like, there's someone with a whip standing behind of them, work faster. And
okay,
something
no, maybe
like
that
this.
was like a bad way to say it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I just mean like that each person has their task, and it's not like you don't have to be knitting to be a part of the group.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
And you can still go and hang out and chat with everybody, and
it's like a creation circle, right?
Yeah.
Rather than an assembly line.
yeah.
Because like they did tell you this, right? Like that's what they kind of do today when they make hats for like preborn babies or something like that.
The Children's Hospital.
Yeah. Anyway, right? They make hats for children in need. And they just volunteer that time. But for them, it is, like you said, Timo, I think I without having spoken to them, but I would assume the same thing. It's fun for them. They get together, they sit around, they gossip about all of the stuff that happened in the home this week. And, they make hats, right? And I think I totally agree. I think that needs to be a part of. And Emmy, you should ask yourself as part of, I think your biggest task for this week will certainly be working on all aspects for this demo. What do you need to bring? What do you need to show? Like you just talked about, you can make a tutorial. You need to figure out all of the questions you would like to have answered after, right? Such as, well, is payment important? Sounded like it might not be from the people who run the facility. It's like if you have tutorials on YouTube, does that work? Does it need to be printed? What would motivate them to do that, right? Is it the cause? What is it? There's 1,000 questions, I think.
Yeah. Maybe also kind of like improving their own skills, right? I think that may be another important piece is like, maybe we know the basic knitting, but is there an advanced technique that we don't know that we could get, more proficient in? I don't know if that applies, but I think that at least to me, it would be a very big motivation to get better.
Can see Arki being one of your knitters already.
Right.
Sure, I'll take you.
What do you expect to get out of the meeting? Like when you meet with them, what is your expectation?
So it's basically to figure out, because the people that I spoke with, they said in their polls and whatever, they haven't had anyone say that they want to have a group for knitting and crocheting and stuff. So it's basically just to see if there's people who would be interested in it. That's the first thing.
Well, that's cool.
Talk to them
already that you got a connection there.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but are you going to pitch the idea, or because I was thinking, how would I do it? And I think the approach that I would take, although it's of course personal, right? I would just come and say, hey, in 2 minutes, it's like, here, this is my idea. What do you guys think? And just let them talk. Let them talk instead of me talking, right? In a way to understand what they are interested in and so on.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of thinking to do it more like, more geared toward them, obviously, and let them like play with some yarn and show them like slip knots and see if they like it with their fingers and.
Oh, okay. Also, you are
And-
bringing some material for them to play with it and to.
Yeah, I think
calculate.
so.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I
you're
agree.
showing
I
the-
think you should. I think you should certainly pitch the company, but not
Mhm.
like you pitched it to an investor or something, right?
Right.
Like you pitch it to them, specific, tailored to them. But they do need to understand what Giglets Garments is about, what the mission is, and why you're doing this in the first place. I think that's going to be, that's the assumption anyway, right? Like one of the biggest motivators for them to either be on board or not. So once they understand that, you give them that overview. Maybe we bring, a tub full of t-shirts. We bring a tub full of cut t-shirts. We bring a tub full of yarn, right? And then we bring all of the samples which you already made. And I'm going to be your errand boy as you kind of pitch and talk to them. I'm whipping all the stuff out, throwing this, t-shirts out, flying everywhere. It's going to be a show.
You're also going to have to
And-
learn how to knit and crochet so that you can help.
By next
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Get on it.
And you should bring cookies to loosen the mood.
Okay. Loosen the mood.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I should bring
There-
something.
yeah.
But what if they're diabetic? I can't.
Yeah,
do
well,
that.
then, I don't know. I was thinking about the same thing.
Sugar-free cookies.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I mean the virtual coffee from this week, yeah, was super enlightening. And helped me realize a lot what I'm struggling with. And my other biggest priority besides the demo is kind of what Patrick said, like prototype and test everything out using these Facebook groups that I'm in now and kind of trying to get some feedback on the customer side. That's the next really big thing, I think, is to see like if this was fully fledged and we were doing it, would people then be buying it?
right. Proving your supplies, your demand side, you mean?
Right.
You can it's still like half a year left until Christmas. You can start knitting these ugly Christmas sweaters because they're super in. It's not fun, but people they like this kind of stuff. I mean, you would normally never wear something like this, but for Christmas especially, a friend of mine is wearing it all the time. Christmas only.
Oh, I thought you meant all the time.
No.
Just ironically.
No. But yeah, around the Christmas time, like he runs around with these things. And I mean, I think there's a kind of community around that. So just an idea. You can take it or leave it, whatever.
Takes a while to knit a sweater, though.
Yeah.
You still have
Really heavy sweaters too with your technique.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. I think, by before that, actually, you should have a list. I think you should kind of maybe go back and forth with people in Slack too, what you're planning. Maybe do another loom or something, like off the pitch or like as if you were there. Think through what are you going to bring, what are your goals for the meeting, what questions you want to ask. And I like the point, I think RQ said that, make it about them, right? Let them talk. But you still need to guide, like you're the facilitator that time, I think, right? Like you're getting there, you're presenting Giglets Garments, you're saying it's like, this is what we're doing. We're partnering with individuals like yourself, right? Don't call them senior living facility members or something.
Old
I think,
people.
right.
We're building the
mean-
granny army. Will you join us?
Well, so this one, I still think, I was thinking about this when Petru was talking on the VCM. And it depends on the individuals, right? I think I don't know if Granny Army is insulting or empowering. It's somewhere on the line, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, it certainly shouldn't be perceived insulting. It's not meant insulting, right? But I think, like, really, like that, how he described his reasoning for the name and that big why, I think that is something which you need to at least have like a kindling of by that demo too, and really like make that a central focal point of the conversation. It's, you know, we were doing this in part for them. We don't know yet what that biggest motivator for them is, right? I don't think it is money. I think that's one of the biggest questions I would want answered by the end of the meeting.
Agreed.
Sorry, I just had some random thoughts. You said biggest motivator probably won't be money, and now I'm imagining just a guy in front of everybody his name is Money, and he's motivating everyone. He's like, "Yeah, do it, guys." I don't know why, but it's so random.
It's getting late there, Timo. Huh?
Like
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
All right, cool. Any other last thoughts here for Emmy?
Oh, sounds good. Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys will see each other one more time before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hope I have more of a plan by that time.
Yeah, it's always good to have like at least a fallback plan, because I mean the let them talk approach is pretty good, but if nobody talks, then what do you do?
And I just have like this vision of me like being this annoying, like way too happy, bubbly person, and all the old people are just like,
Yeah,
I
"Get
don't
off
think
the
so.
stage."
I mean, you never know. There are like, yeah, not especially with old people. It's like it goes over all the age groups, but yeah, some people will be grumpy and some will be super happy and cheerful. I think you'll always have like, yeah, different personalities in there. So
Yeah.
focus on the ones that are interested on.
All right, but it also, I guess, depends on the group too, right? Maybe if that
Yeah, of
facility is like they are unhappy, so you won't get a good crowd. But
You need to actually, what we haven't talked about yet, you need to control the narrative from now on, right? Like, what are they communicating even to their citizens, right? Like, because if they say, well, come see Emmy, like, who the fuck is Emmy? I'm not going there. I don't care who Emmy is, right? Like, like it needs to be now, like, I don't know, like, do you need the flyer? Like, we need to ask them, it's like, hey, you know, here's the PR kit or something, you know, like what are they going to say? How are they going to tell them? Like, how do we set this event up? Like, who is going to come? How do they decide if they're going to come? What is the message they're going to share with them?
Yeah, I thought about that. Yeah.
And that needs to happen ASAP, because if they start communicating something which it isn't, which happens all the time, right? Like you set up an event and then whoever markets the event in, like, I don't know, like in their restaurant or something, they just put out, well, there's going to be a presentation tonight. Well, great. About what? You know?
Yeah.
So, because that will influence what Timo just said, right? Like, who is going to be there? Like, that needs to be impacted already by your messaging from day one. And presumably, if that's done right, the people who will show up more or less already going to have an interest in some of the things you're going to talk about. And that's the question you need to ask yourself, really, like, literally by tomorrow. I think that should be the goal, to have that done by tomorrow. Is this, it's not a knitting event. It's not a Save the World event. It's not an upcycling event. It's all of the above, right? Somehow, like, it's a Giglit's Garments event, but how do you make that clear to them? What is it that they're getting from this event, actually? That's actually really difficult. That's a good last question for Timo and Arki. If you were a couple years older than you are now, and you lived in a senior living facility, and hypothetically someone like Emmy was coming, now you know already. Now, what would you expect to see, to be told about the event, which would make you go?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I cannot imagine myself.
So
in a
I
senior
would like this to be
living.
something very informal, something that wouldn't take a lot of my time, unless I choose to stay there. For example, if someone would tell me, hey, it's an hour, it's like, okay. It's like, no, I need to play poker, right?
I
So
think time is what they have a lot of, actually.
really? Okay. But
Well, I'm just assuming,
but I
right?
get
Yeah, but
I would say one of the reasons why they leave there is because there are activities like
It's true.
poker, bingo,
maybe, yeah.
whatever, right? So then if that event would take an hour that I could have otherwise invested hanging out with my friends is okay. I guess a reason to go would be, okay, something quick, something I can learn about. Okay, there is this, young person coming and talking to me about something that I may be interested in. So
Right.
and that's it. Maybe maybe to set the stage from the beginning, it's like, look here, I don't want to make this longer than it has to be. I have this idea. Is that something that you would see yourself participating in it, right? What are your questions? And just keeping it informal, because if it's just like this thing I need to attend to because I have to, and it's an hour, it's okay, it's a no-go. But if the whole thing, if you drive it well, and if they are in the mood for engaging, it could extend to, you never know, it's a 2 hour, a 3 hour with questions and learning, right? Just having a discussion. So I think maybe also, I don't know if it's allowed, but inviting them to engage after the official event is over. Maybe it's something that you'll be around if they let you be there, and just to have one-on-ones. I think that would also make it less formal, because also I think many people, I don't know, generalizing, but not everyone is really willing to express their views in public, right?
Yeah.
Especially in large crowds. So I think also giving that option of having one-on-ones could be a good idea.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I mean, Sven, you said they have a lot of free time. That's true, but you don't. Even though you have a lot of free time, you don't want to spend it with things you are forced to do, even if you don't like it. So if you're forced to stay there for 1 hour, then it's also not fun. So yeah. Maybe
no,
what Arki said
certainly.
is really cool.
I don't think anyone forced them, right? But
Don't you leave.
yeah, like I'm gonna be at the door. Door's locked.
Yeah.
But one other thing which popped in my head while you guys were talking is you need to make sure that it doesn't collide with anything else. If it is at the same time as poker and all of them are poker people, that's not good.
That's true, yes. Yeah.
And they can just ask that, right? It's like, hey, just to maximize the chance of having a lot of people attend, can you let me know if there's any other events at that same time? I think that's a fair question to ask.
The other thing is, could you, I don't know, of course that requires some investment from your side, but donuts and coffee or something, or just coffee, right? Something to just, even if they are there for 15 minutes, just to, give them a coffee, and that's it, right? That's what they got.
I said bring cookies.
Right.
Always works.
Yeah. Yeah, that you need to, of course, clarify with the event organizer there too. And then I like the structure, as you guys are talking about as well, right? Like, so I think you should have, and this again needs to come through in your communication to what this is now to make them actually want to come. It's, you're going to present a cause, right? Giglitz Garments is an active in this cause, and that's a little bit quickly in the beginning, and then you're kind of you want to learn from them. You want to show them how you maybe the cause is, or this is an educational kind of thing, like how do we save millions of tons of blah 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 from the landfill, right? And an open information session. And then maybe like an open-ended knitting kind of exercise, right? Like we will actually do this. We will do what you would be doing, right? I mean, you might not go through the entire thing, but you will be their instructor, do that together, show them, and then everyone who wants to participate, gets a ball of yarn, and you just walk around kind of as it was a yoga group or something, just kind
Yeah.
of
Right.
talking to them, sitting down 10 minutes on this table, talking to those 4 people, and go to the next table.
I was thinking maybe the finger crochet because I don't
Yeah.
want to have to buy 20 pairs of knitting needles.
Yeah. Yeah, for now, I think that would be okay. You can bring the ones you have, how many pairs you have, bring everything you have, and then
Yeah.
Since this is the first one, you'll know so much more after this one, right?
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, it's too bad you're not working with Brian anymore, because he had a business with someone where they went to those types of facilities, demoing a virtual reality solution, actually. And I wonder how they set that up. Probably very similarly. And that was usually a pretty big hit, apparently. Just
Interesting.
like these, just as a side note, was just like basically virtual reality vacations, It's like you're old, you can't really go around the world anymore, so here experience, the pyramids in virtual
depressing.
reality or something.
That's depressing.
No, it's not actually, if you think about it. It's just the reality of things. You're not going to get there anymore, right? If you are, please go. But if you still want to experience it, this is better than pictures.
Yeah.
It's good to have the option, I think. It's better than watching the tree through the window,
Or yelling at the kids playing on the streets.
Look, all right, awesome. Yeah, lots to do, Emmy.
Yeah, I know.
It's good, exciting, very exciting. It's a cool phase.
It's just a little scary.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, step by step.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sounds good, guys.
Good, guys.
Good,
All
awesome.
right. Thanks.
See you guys.
See you next week. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.